Good evening and welcome to All Things Sky Blue game preview. Our home game against Bristol City. Both the teams have got cup games within that as well. Obviously, Coventry have got on Friday, Sheffield Wednesday. As you can see down on our ticker, I haven't got the normal one. It's got "We Stand With You, Casey Palmer, Kick Out Racism," because of the racist chants that he had in our league game with Sheffield Wednesday. So just to show a stand with Casey and that we are thinking about you, Casey, as well. Bristol City, who we've got at our place on Tuesday, they've got a game against Forest. So obviously some of the players, may get injured potentially or maybe suspended or something like that. So it's being based on that game as well. So as you all know, where you can find us on X or Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Please go and like and subscribe. We're partnered with the Anecdote Sports Bar, and we're also sponsored this season by Right Steel Fabrications. That he can do your steel metalwork, if you like, your welding for beams, box sections. He can fabricate pretty much everything. He's a really, really good guy. Based in Coventry and Warwickshire, but I know he does travel a little bit as well. We're also available on all the pods that you can get your podcasts from, so Spotify, Amazon, and iTunes, and others as well, if I've missed them out. As always, I'm joined by Mark, part of All Things Sky Blue. Good evening, Mark. You okay?
Evening, Stuart. Yeah, good, thanks. I hope everyone's all right listening.
Yeah, good, thank you. And we're also joined by David from Forever Bristol City podcast. How are you, David?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, guys. Good.
Lovely, lovely. So, obviously, the big game, obviously, after the FA Cup game, fourth round, at our CBS Arena. Before we get into it, can you just let us know where we can find you and what you guys do?
Yeah, sure. Well, Forever Bristol City podcast, we set that up in lockdown, June 2020. We don't do match previews. We do post-match. We record live on YouTube, either on a Saturday evening for away games or a Sunday morning. Really takes our fancy, really. And then we upload it to all the usual podcast platforms. So all the guys that are participating in it, we're mainly people that are, I'd say, over 50. So I'm in my 60s. So most of us remember the days when we were in the top flight, which is 40 odd years ago now. But, we're all City fans through and through. I like to think we're independent. Well, not I like to think we are very independent. So, we're possibly the naughty boys. We say it as it is. We don't sugarcoat it. And, we're doing okay. We haven't got a sponsor yet, although just recently we've been signed up to the TalkSport fan network. So, it seemed a good idea at the time. So this weekend will be our first weekend with their logo on some of our tiles, as they call it.
Oh, fantastic.
So we're going to have advertising in there. So, but I do it for the crack. This is, I think, season 57 for me. So I started when I was 11. And as I say, the podcast, it's usually me plus two, maybe plus three. And it's good crack. We do it for about an hour and a quarter by the time we finish. So that's what we do, really.
Fantastic. Sounds really, really good. I know Mark obviously has been on your show as well, obviously when we played you guys at your place, which we'll touch on now. So that leads us nicely into that. So as I can remember, our last game, obviously we lost 1-0, but it was in a period, I think, where we were getting a lot of corners, we were getting a lot of chances, and we just weren't converting it. I think in that one game, I think alone we had 15 corners or something ridiculous like that. And I think we had 12 shots as well. It just didn't. It was one of them games, wasn't it, Mark, that we just felt that it just weren't going to be our day completely from word go, wasn't it?
Yeah, I went to the game, and obviously the first certainly 30 minutes or so, we were the better side. We had all the chances. Matty Godden had a couple of chances missed. We looked really good, played some really good football. And that was kind of during a spell where we couldn't, after Middlesbrough, we couldn't buy a win. Bristol City, I felt that the turning point of the game was when I think Nigel Pearson made a substitution. I think tactically, I want to say that there's a left back who came off, and he changed, he tweaked it a bit with the shape, and then Rob Dickie scored from a free kick, which Ben Wilson at the time in goal really should have done better, in my opinion. It was a decent header from Rob Dickie. He headed it low down the floor, and I think Wilson probably should have saved it. And then second half, I thought we were a little bit toothless, in all honesty, and Bristol City defended very well. So, I think all in all, you got to give credit to Bristol City. They hung in there and they got the win. But yeah, it was disappointing. But at least the performance, there was some good parts of the performance. It was just a shame we couldn't get that result. But look, I think looking at the situation now overall, I'd say Bristol City, I think, are a team that potentially could still push into the playoffs. Although they're halfway, there's not a lot of points to separate where we are to even as low as 14th in the league. I think there's about 6 points. I think Cardiff City are around 14th. So very tight. It's a big game, really. It's a game we need to win. Obviously, it'd be nice to avenge that result, but more importantly, we want to consolidate our position in the playoffs, and hopefully we can do that.
Yeah, obviously. Looking back at that game, then, David, the honest answer is I can't quite recall your form going into that game because I've slept since then. In all honesty, how was your form and how was you feeling about that game?
Well, feeling about that game, our form as it had been all season and as it still is, it was inconsistent. We went into that game on the back of an international break. We'd lost the previous game on the 7th of October to Leeds 2-1, but given them a decent game. Yeah. But, this was the beginning of the end for Nigel Pearson because there was a lot going on. He was starting to make mutterings to the board that he hadn't been offered or even talked about a new contract. And I think after the Leeds game, he used the term irritated. And then the game against you guys, what Mark said just then, I mean, we weren't at the races for the first 40 minutes. You did everything but score. Looking at the statistics there, I'm just looking at the BBC numbers. I think you had 12 shots, 1 on target. We only had 6 in the whole game. 3 on target, obviously one of those being the goal. And it's what we would call a lucky win. Yeah, we needed it. We needed the win, and we got it. I mean, it meant that we'd won 2 out of the last 3 because prior to Leeds we'd lost at Rotherham. Beaten Rotherham. Yeah, so we beat Rotherham, beat you, lost to Leeds in between. But the general feeling was as well that the players weren't prepared for the game because they finished their game against Leeds on the 7th of October. They didn't really report back for training, so it's said, until about the 14th, or not the 14th, 3 or 4 days before the game against you guys. So we beat you, but it was a lucky win. Or, I won't say it was hard fought. You had the chances, you didn't convert.
Yeah, that's right. I think at that period, like you said, at that period of time, it was, like Mark said, we were struggling to find a win. We were creating the chances. I think we were top of the chances charts, and had you right with his XGs up there and everything like that as well. And it just wasn't falling for us at the time as well. We were playing a different formation. We were playing 3-4-3, playing 3 at the back with wing backs. Since obviously the last time that we played you, we have changed formation and we're looking at a lot stronger now. Mark, do you think changing to a 4-3-3 for this Bristol City game will help us? Obviously, we know that we've been playing well. We're 10 unbeaten. Do you think it will help us, or do you think he might tweak it and maybe go back to a back 3?
I'll be surprised if he tweaks it to a back 3 because since changing that formation, we've only had 1 defeat. That was the Ipswich game in December. We haven't lost since. So I'll be really surprised if at home we change it. I think it's worked wonders for us. I did have a quick look at Bristol City, how they set up away from home. They generally like to pack the midfield. From what I'm seeing, they like to play that sort of 5 across the midfield. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's what Liam Manning might look to do for this game. I know. Although they have got, obviously, they've brought in Scott Twine as a sort of an attacking midfielder. So I think at home they're a bit more attacking, whereas away they look like a little bit more defensively set up. But I think from our point of view, I would probably go the same because we'd be getting good results. And the benefits of our formation is, probably Hadji Wright may be back for this game. Actually, I think he said last week in the fans forum that he's targeting the Bristol City game as a comeback match. But whether Mark Robbins decides to start him is another story. But I think where it's gone well for us is the fact that our so-called front three, or the two wide players, winger players, also double up to help the defence out, and I think that's helped massively, because it's then negated the opposition from making runs down the flanks, and generally, like Sakamoto and Van Ivak have worked brilliantly on the right hand side, and Jake Bidwell / Palmer / Hadji Wright have been doing well on the left. So all in all, it's good, and I wouldn't make too many changes to this game. I mean, obviously, I would expect. Both teams I expect to play maybe not as strong teams, because I think the priority for both our teams are probably to go to get the playoffs. Really, I mean, the FA Cup is a bonus, but I think playoffs is probably certainly what we want to achieve, and I'm sure David will say the same for Bristol City. So I think it's going to be a really interesting game, but I'm looking forward to it. I think it's a game we can definitely get a result, but make no mistake, Bristol City will be tough opposition. We've always had close games at Bristol City. If you look at the fixture, there's only always been your goal that separates the two sides. There's never been a game where one team wins 2 or 3-0. It's always fairly close games. And I think difference to that, really.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I think the thing that bodes well in our favour, David, and you might agree or disagree, to be fair, is, your home form's been slightly better than your away form. So I think that, because I think if I'm right, you've since we last played you, this is anyway, you've won 1 away and you've lost 4, but you have drew 3 within that period as well, away from home. So I think, do you go into this game sort of in a little bit of doubt in your mind going into this game that you can get a result, or are you going in with confidence?
You never go in with confidence. I never go in confidence, and then you're not disappointed, sort of thing. I mean, look, we had a little purple patch before Christmas where we beat Hull, Sunderland, and won convincingly away at Watford on Boxing Day, 4-1, as you said. And then our season has been coloured by 2 very impressive performances against West Ham, where we've altered formation. We've slightly gone to a back 3 or 5 at the back, or whichever way you want to call it. But our league form has gone down the toilet, because after beating Watford 4-1 on Boxing Day, we got a draw against Wayne Rooney's Birmingham. Awful game. He set them up to not avoid defeat. He was gone the following week. And then we have Millwall at home on New Year's Day. That wasn't fantastic. Lost to a last-minute goal. And then we had Watford last Saturday. 1-1 draw. Look, I mean, we're 6 points. We're playing for 6th place, but I think we're one of 10 clubs that are playing for 6th place, maybe 5th. And we've got a tough run of games coming up, because we've got you, and then we got Leeds at home on Friday the 3rd of 2nd of Feb, whenever it is. Leeds at home, and then we've got Southampton at home as well, and then I think Middlesbrough away, something like that. So those 4 games. You think, well, if we win, are we going to put together a winning run of 3? And I don't see it happen. And then you're running out of games then. We're already looking at 2 points a game with 18 games to go. And that would get us to about 73, which might be enough. But, we
had 72, I think, and we got into the playoff, obviously, last year. So 73 might just be enough. I just think that with, obviously, the 4 are probably the 4. What order you want to put them in is anybody's guess, really. Like you've said, it's 5th and 6th, really. But like I said, I think we may need more than 72, 73, maybe just.
I don't know how it works sometimes. When you've got 2 clubs that are running away with it, looking like 3 now, because the top 2 is going to be any 2 from who's up there, Ipswich, Leicester, and now Southampton. So I think any 2 of those Leeds. So 4 playoff places are gone already. Yeah, but you've got to. When the teams are so far away at the top, I'm not a great statistician, but does that lower the number of points you need to get up or increase it? Are there going to be more clubs hovering around that 69 to 75.
You might be right, actually. What do you say, Mark?
Yeah, possibly. I think you've got to remember that we're only 18 games left the season, so pretty much everyone's got to play each other, haven't they? I mean, so I think certainly from our point of view as a Coventry fan, I would say 8 of 18 games, if you can target 10 wins and then pick up, say, 2 or 3 draws, I think that will take you to around 76 points.
Well, that would do it. That would do it.
You're pretty disappointed to miss out on that, I would say.
I
think we're good enough to do that. I mean, looking far ahead for the Coventry fan, our hardest fixtures are in April when we're playing the likes of Leeds, Southampton, Ipswich, all in the same month. So that's going to be the toughest month on paper. But having said that, we've got to get to that point. We've got to get enough points before we get to April 1st, before we can start talking about it.
Yeah, and two out of them games are at home, aren't they? There's only Southampton, really, that we've got to play away. So, when they come to our place, we've got a good record at the moment anyway, home and away. But we've definitely got a really good home record. Obviously, going on to your last game, David, against Watford, it was 1-1.
Yeah.
And, one of the players, I've earmarked sort of 3 players to kind of speak about a little bit. You might, Mark, want to bring somebody else in. Scott Twine, on loan from Burnley. Obviously, he was at Hull, been recalled and sent out to you guys. Andre Vyman, on loan from West Brom.
On loan at West Brom. He's gone. Vyman's gone.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Sorry. That's that's me. Sorry. Yeah, he's gone. Sorry, I'll scrap that one. That one's gone. And I believe that you may have beat us to this guy. Only 19. Josh Stokes.
Josh Stokes from Aldershot. Yeah.
Yeah, from Aldershot. So I'm just going to talk about the 2, not the 3, because I was wrong on the other one. But yeah, so obviously Scott Twine was the big one in the January for you guys, really, in terms of coming in. How do you think he's settled in, and are you happy with him?
I think he's settled in well, but the sorry news is that he's got an injury. He would have been cup-tied against Forest, but he's got an injury to his quads, or a quad. They don't know how serious it is at the moment, but he's looking, you got to say, maybe a doubt for the game against Coventry. Now, he came, Burnley wanted a lot of money for him, and we weren't able to agree a loan with an option to buy. It's a straight loan. Taylor Gardner-Hickman, who came from West Brom, that was a loan with an option to buy at a predetermined price. Yeah. With Twine, Burnley wanted far too much money. And I was saying to one of the people behind the scenes there, or one of the directors, if Twine plays well, Burnley are going to want more. In the summer, and City weren't going to part with 4 million. I mean, that's the beef that a lot of the fans have had, is that we've sold Scott and Semenyo, and not enough of the money has been ploughed back in, like Mark Robbins has been able to do up there. So sadly, Scott Twine, I don't think he's going to play. Now, how did he play against Watford? He scored a goal. If you've seen it, he was all over the player's back. I've seen goals like that disallowed many a time. His execution from flag kicks, corner kicks, was superb in a way that we haven't seen. So, with big Rob Dickey up there with that sort of service, and Rob Atkinson within the next month coming back after a year out, that's going to be good. We didn't see him on the edge of the box. He's good with free kicks. But the general view was he was just trying a little bit too hard. And as one of my podcast co-contributors said, it was a bit like kids football, where you've got this player who's really, really good, and then everybody's saying, give it to him. But he scored on his debut, so you can't ask a lot more than that, really.
Yeah, that him being out, I think if he isn't available, then I think that's going to be a big miss for you guys, because I'm a massive fan of Scott Twine. I think that'll be a big miss. Josh Stokes, is he one for the future, or is he likely to feature?
I think, he's immediately gone back to Aldershot on loan. Okay. I mean, it was a club record fee for Aldershot. I think the sum of about £250,000 was mentioned somewhere, although most transfers involving us are usually undisclosed. So he's gone back there on loan to the end of the season. Yeah, one for the future. A bit like another lad we signed from Northern Ireland. I know his surname's Murphy, and I think it's Adam. I think it's Adam Murphy. They're both similar age, and they're both meant to be best in class as to what they are. So, since we played you, the big change has been bringing in Liam Manning, who was a big fan of Scott Twine when he was at MK Dons,
Yes.
And he has altered the way we play, and we are trying to be a more possession-based side, So, but the transfer is coming in, Scott Twine. We may get another one in. I think we're looking for a striker. We need a big man up front. I think if Tommy Conway, I'm saying we're recording this before the cup game, but let's say he got a goal against Forest and got one and made one against you guys, somebody might come in with a sniff there. And with him being out of contract in the summer of 25, he is a Scottish international, we might be tempted to sell. But he's been offered 2 contracts, not signed, so his value goes down as his existing contract runs down.
Okay, that's an interesting one. Very interesting one. Mark, obviously, we've got, similar to you, David, to be fair, obviously, we've got Callum O'Hare coming out of contract. Clubs sound like they're starting to circle a little bit more now. The rumours are coming out a little bit more. Same for Sheaf as well, with Luton potentially sniffing around Sheaf. Me personally, I don't see either of them going in January. I think it will be very much a summer, not clear out, because obviously we don't want to get rid of them, but I think it will be summer sales if they go. Hopefully they don't. Sheaf has been captain, for the past, 5-6 games, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. And obviously O'Hare's just integral to everything that we do. So we don't want to lose either of them. How are you feeling about January and O'Hare and Sheaf? And the vultures circling, if you like?
Not even worried at all. I think it's the Sheafer that Luton is a load of rubbish as far as I'm concerned. So I don't know where. I don't think who started those rumours up, but I don't believe any of that. And I wouldn't entertain him going either, because we're trying to get into the Premier League. So why would you want to asset to a side that may be going back down to the Championship? So. To me, that would be absolutely ridiculous piece of business if that happens. And I'm not even worried about that. I think Callum O'Hare, yes, but I can understand from the player's point of view. If he probably wants to see how we get on this season. If we go up, he'll probably sign. If we don't, he'll probably go. But obviously, it's a finger up in the air one. I think possibly we may have missed a trick by not offering a contract when he was injured. I suppose the argument would be that we didn't know what his condition would be like, but I think it would have been nice. I think it would have stopped the club sniffing around, because I think he may have been more inclined to sign. It may not have been, but I think we could have done that possibly. That's anything I would say on Callum O'Hare. But look, I don't think it's the time or place to start speculating. I think we just got to focus our attention on winning games, like winning tomorrow, winning on Tuesday. Tuesday is more important, because we need the 3 points. We need to get a bit of a gap going teams below us. So, I'm not too worried about Callum O'Hare. I think whatever happens. He's been a great player for Coventry City Football Club. If he goes, then good luck to him. But hopefully that won't happen. Okay,
lovely. So expectations, David, for the game on Tuesday. What are your expectations? What are you expecting to see from Bristol City?
I think it depends how we do in the cup game, bizarrely, because I think if we do something against Forest, I think it's still at replay stage, so God knows how we'd fit that one in. But if we put in a good show against Forest, as good as the 2 we did against West Ham, we could beat them. We'll be up on a high. My expectations are I'd be happy with a point at your place on Tuesday. But that's just not enough. And if you said to me, would I want 4 points from the next 2 games against you and Leeds, or beating Forest, I'd take 4 points just to keep the game alive. If we lose to Forest, we lose to you and get a draw against Leeds, then we're down to 16 games to go, and then we're just running out of games. We'd be on, I think, 38 points, and you 2 points a game after that is 70. You're then building for next season already, with a third of the season still to go.
Yeah.
So draw. I'd take a draw, but we need a win.
Okay, fair enough. Any questions, Mark, at the moment for David?
Any other injuries, David, ahead of this game? Obviously, I mean, when I say injury, I mean like longer term injuries. I mean, obviously, you mentioned that twice. Any other injuries that?
Well, we've still got. I mean, Cal Naismith, who we signed him. He's in his second season, but he's only been available 50% of the whole time he's been here. He wouldn't get back into the side now. Rob Atkinson, defender, he's been out for a year with ACL, innocuous-looking injury. Another youngster, Eamon Benarous, he's been out for 2 years now. You know, we are lucky with injury. They call it our training ground, they call it the high performance center. We call it the hamstring probability center. And we just seem to be suffering soft tissue injuries. Like it's bad luck, or, you know, we were just saying today, is there something about the playing surfaces up there where they train? Because we're on our third regime of training, third regime of backroom staff in the time that we've been there, and we still have all these injuries. You know, but no, I think you know, when everybody's fit, then another one who's out at the moment, who I think is a starter when everyone's fit, and that's Mark Sykes. You know, but with our injuries, you know, Mark Sykes was out for 2 weeks allegedly, and now it's become 4. Yeah, so back in the old days, he said, a player was out a couple of weeks, he'd have a reserve game, come back and play, and now they can be out for 6 weeks, not play much warm-up stuff, and then they're dropped straight back in. Classic example, and he didn't play when we played against you. Classic example was Ross McCrory, who we signed him from Aberdeen in the summer, and he'd only been with us for 2 weeks, and he picked up some mystery illness, some viral infection. We paid £2 million for him, and I think any player in the Championship that you pay £2 million for is half decent. And he's played the first 60 minutes of the last 2 games, and I see him as captain next season, and he was signed to play the problem right back position, so called. But you know, he's playing as almost like a right wing back at the moment. But you know, it's good to have him back, because you know, he's like a new signing in his own right.
Yeah, good.
So one more question for David. How do you expect? I mean, let's say you got no injuries after Friday's game against Forest. How do you expect Manning to set the team up for the Coventry game?
I'll tell you how I think he'll set it up. And we'll assume Scott Twine's playing anyway, yeah, even though that's looking doubtful. But he'll have Max O'Leary in goal, who's not everybody's cup of tea, but you know, he's okay. I think he's okay. Then you'll have a back 3 if you're going to play this central defensive trio, which will be George Tanner, ex-Carlisle youngster, bit of the butt of the Boo Boys, but you know, he's solid defending, not great going forward, which why at right back he wasn't that great. So Rob Tanner in the middle, Zach Viner, one of the most improved players over the last couple of years, prone to the occasional mistake, and then Rob Dickey alongside him. And then the wing backs, or whatever you want to call them, extras in midfield, you'll have Ross McCrory on the right, and then on the left you'll have Cam Pring, who's been talk of Rangers being interested in him, but they can't.
I do like Pring.
He's good perhaps Stuart Pearce type in terms of going forward.
Yeah.
In middle, you tend to pay, so that's 5. You tend to pay with a pivot, which can be Matty James or Joe Williams, and then there's Liam. What do you call him? Jason Knight, the ex-Derby player, in there. Taylor Gardner-Hickman, so you've got those, and then you'd probably find Scott Twine playing behind Tommy Conway. Now, Tom is a very good player, but if you look at the goals that he scored against his last 4 goals, it's running off the last man. He'd have got a goal. He'd have robbed Scott Twine of the debut goal had Ben Heyman not put in a good save. But he's not a target man. He's not somebody that can hold the ball up. So if we were going to sign anybody, I doubt if it'll be before your game. It might be a big man up front. There was some talk of Kiefer Moore, but again, it's down to wages. You know, we don't want to spend the money. So you pretty much know how we'll shape up. The problem with Williams and James in midfield, there's not a great deal of creativity there, and not a great deal of pace. And if you saw the West Ham game on TV, a couple of those tackles that Joe Williams did, he was lucky to stay on the field. But he's out of contract in the summer. And his season, it's only in the last, I'll say 12 months of a 3.5-year contract, that we started to see the player we thought we were signing, because his early career, certainly the first 2 years at City, was plagued by injuries. So I think I know how we're set up. These aren't Liam Manning's players by and large, and they've had to adapt to a different way, but apparently they're enjoying it. So, got to be happy with that.
Fair enough. What threats do you see from us? Whether it's from the last game that we played, or I don't know whether you follow or keep up with any other predictions or score lines or anything.
Yeah, I've watched you guys a couple of times. I think you've been on Saturday lunchtime games, and you shared Sheaf and O'Hare. Is it Sacramento? What's the guy? Sakamoto looks a decent player. Of course, you got Casey in there, Casey Palmer. He was a bit of an enigma when he was at Ashton Gate. I mean, we paid £4.5 million for him, and like so many in recent years, have walked away for nothing. He can always turn it on. And then from what I've heard or seen, and I think when we spoke, Mark, earlier, Jay Da Silva's popular member of the team. Would I say Jay Da Silva's threatening? Not particularly, but you got a good team. And as we said before, Mark, you have a manager that our chairman coveted for rather long number of years. And when Pearson went, we're going to get. In fact, I think we might have talked about that. If Pearson goes, would back there, and you said absolutely no chance. I think that would still apply now. But we've got a manager. We're on another bloody project and a rebuild. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah. So no, I think you're a good team. And you're a little bit like us. You get decent crowds, decent ground, and you've had extensive spell in the top flight, but we're still waiting. Bloody 44 years it'll be this year. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Mark, going into Tuesday's game, obviously bearing in mind that if everybody comes through nice and fit and there's nothing gone wrong at Wednesday, and we get through and everything's hunky dory, what do you see the team to be lined up with? How do you think he'll line up? Pretty much the same as Leicester or Sheffield Wednesday league game?
Yeah, because he kept it unchanged for that game, so I can't imagine. I think if it barring injuries, I think that would be the same side. The only possible change I could foresee is Ellis Sims might lead the line instead of Matty Godden. He could rotate the strikers. Sometimes he does that. I think that'll be the team. I think he'll keep it unchanged. To be honest, I don't see many changes for this game when stays fit, because we've been winning games with that team. So why would you change it?
Yeah, exactly. And obviously we have got one signing through the door in January, which is Victor Torp. I think that he might start on the cup game on Friday night. Do you think if he comes through and has a really good game, do you think he starts on Tuesday, or do you think he's still going to go with his tried and tested sort of Eccles, O'Hare, Sheaf combination? Or does it depend on how he does?
Yeah, my gut thing would be that he'd be on the bench. I don't see him starting. If he has a blinder, then obviously that gives Mark Robins food for thought. But I think Victor Torp, I think really Friday is an ideal game for him to get his just get used to his teammates and get used to our style of football. And so I'd be surprised if he starts the Bristol City game, but I'm sure he'll be a guy that Mark Robins will certainly look to start in the future, and maybe bring him off the bench, I would say, for the Bristol City game, depending on the game situation. But from what I've seen on the footage, he looks an exciting talent, and obviously, Robins and Co think highly of him because they've offered him a 4-year contract, or he's signed a 4-year contract of £2 million. So they obviously rate him highly, and I don't think he'll start for this game, but I think he'll certainly be a player that could definitely be on the bench and maybe utilised in the second half.
Okay. Can I ask a question? Who runs player acquisition up at Coventry? Who's the talent spotter up there?
We've got 2 or 3. The main one, I think, is Dean. Is it Dean?
Dean Austin.
Dean Austin. I think he's the main guy. And then there's a couple more that sort of filter off and help him out. we've got a scouting side or a team, if you like. But Dean Austin's the main.
He's the main.
He's the head scout, I think.
Yeah,
he might even be classed as. I wouldn't say director of football, but is that sort of ilk, if you like, of what they do behind the scenes. And obviously they are going further afield. Obviously Sakamoto, Haji Wright was in Turkey, Victor Torp was in Scandinavia. So they are going a lot more further afield to talent spot and not necessarily, because I think if there's a lot of people that are surrounding the areas of England and Wales and Scotland, isn't there? To go further afield, there's not many. Teams that go that further afield.
No, we're still quite conservative in that respect, because I'm sure there's some good players slinging around in Bundesliga 2. Some people I know follow football more, and it's quite in European football. Follow European football more than I do, but Bundesliga 2 is quite competitive and probably not dissimilar standard to what we have. But
okay, interesting. Yeah, but to answer your question, Dean Austin's the main guy there for us. Okay, going into Tuesday then, Mark. What's your prediction, or are you going to sit on the fence as normal?
Yeah, I'm going to sit on the fence for this one. I think it's going to be what people might think. Well, I shouldn't be saying that because we're in a good run. I think it'll either be a draw or one goal. Either side will win it. I'm going to stick my neck out and say 2-2.
2-2. So there's going to be goals in it then. Can I get you a prediction off you, David, or do you not really give predictions?
No, I'll do it. I'll do it. It's interesting you said a 2-2, because on another podcast I was they call that a Desmond, as in a Desmond 2-2. You might know who that is. I think it might be 1-1. Yeah, if it's a draw. I said I'd take a draw. I'd like to win, but I'll say 1-1.
Okay, fair enough. For me, I just think with the run that we're on, and we're at home as well, I just think that we're going to have maybe a little bit too much. It's not going to be an easy game by any stretch. And normally I would say against a Bristol City, a 1-1 as well. But I am going to go for a 2-1 win. I think we will concede, but I think we will just do enough because of the run that we're on and because we're at home as well. I think that just gives us an added incentive. If we're at your place, I would have gone for the draw. But because we're at home, I'm just going to give us the slight edge, I think.
Fair enough.
Any other questions for David, Mark, before we just finish off with the word association?
No, nothing more for me. I'm looking forward to the game.
Brilliant. Fantastic. So, as I mentioned earlier, we do a little bit of a word association. There is a little bit of a nasty one in there, but don't worry. You can be as honest as you like. Right. But it starts off easy. So, the first one is Ashton Gate.
Football.
Lovely. Matty James.
Leicester City.
Okay. Bristol Rovers.
Crap.
We've had worse, to be fair. Best away fans.
Leeds.
Okay. And last one, Leon Manning.
Good luck.
I like it. Okay, so thank you very much for coming on, David.
No, my pleasure.
It's been a great pleasure having you on. Yeah. As always, Mark, thank you very much for coming on as well. Just before we do go, can you just remind us where we can find you and what you guys do, David?
Yeah, sure. Well, we're on all the usual podcast platforms and on YouTube as well. So if you want to see our review of the game, we'll be recording that on Wednesday morning at 9:00 on YouTube. And obviously it's out on X as well. And then on the podcast platforms, we'll be there from the recording will be uploaded from midday. So that's what we do. And that's when we do it.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. When I am recording, David, don't shoot off and we'll have a little quick chat afterwards as well. All right.
Yeah.
So just to remind everybody on ours where you can find us on Twitter or X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok now. We do a TikTok live. I will be doing one just for about an hour before the game kicks off for Sheffield Wednesday in the FA Cup. You can find us on the normal podcasts as well, iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcasts from. We are partnered with the Anecdote Sports Bar at the CBS Arena, and we are sponsored by Right Steel Fabrications. You can see his picture in the corner.
Logo.
His logo, thank you. I was thinking of the word. Thank you very much, David. His logo in the corner. So again, thank you both very much for coming on. It's been a pleasure to have you on, David. Thank you. Mark, as always, thank you very much for coming on. Again, as I said at the start, we stand with you, Casey, and let's kick out racism. Thank you very much.
Thank you.